What is this? All of a sudden, whenever I do a live stream, you guys think I'm giving away something? Is that what this is? I'm watching the comments here, and I'm thinking to myself, I guess that's probably true. Every time I do a live stream, I guess I am somewhat giving away something, aren't I? Well, not this time, guys. I already gave away something, and I believe that the guy who won the item from our giveaway is in here, maybe. If so, say hi. Gamers818, I believe. What do you mean he's on time? I'm always on time. See, I'm on my time. And when I start, I'm on time. Because it's my time. If it was your time, then I'd be late. Always. But I appreciate you guys that are watching. However many there are in here. Probably only a couple. So much to talk about, but not sure where to start. Okay. Still getting over that damn cold, which is gonna be like the beginning, I think, of The Walking Dead in real life. It all starts as a cold. But you know, I want to answer your guys' questions, but at the same time, there's some things I want to talk about, like the fact that I don't care about games anymore, and it disappoints me because I've got this this awesome gaming computer, but yet there hasn't been a game that has excited me. And I hear people talking about BioShock Infinite and Far Cry 3 and all that stuff, but I don't know what it is. There just hasn't been anything that's really made me excited lately. And I on the Steam sale, there was a Steam sale for Dirt 3 the other day. I bought that because it was $8. And even when it was all the way down to $25, I just wasn't that interested in it. So I don't know. I bought it because some friends did. I haven't been playing the Xbox much lately. I just have been totally slacking on the whole gamer side of things. But it is what it is. Let's go ahead and tweet out the stream, shall we? And if you guys are also on the Twitter and the Facebooker and any of those other stalker sites, do me a favor. Let's go ahead and tweet out the stream. Let's see how many people we can get in here. The other day I had like 70 people in here, and I wasn't even doing a giveaway, which was pretty awesome. Right now it shows there's 22 of you in here. I don't know if that's accurate or not. Or the 17, I guess, in here. It's for a last minute, hey, I'm going to do a stream. I guess it's not too bad, but whatever. So let's go ahead and pop on over to the Booker face. Boogie says that. I probably shouldn't say that. He says, the book face. And you guys might hear some kids in the background squealing and screaming. My daughter's got a little friend over, and they're playing and having a good old time. And I'm like, keep it down! I'm streaming here. But they don't listen. Nobody listens to me. Are you kidding me? Hey guys, I'm live. Come say hi right now. Bam. Let's copy that. I probably should have had this already ready to go, but I was like showering up until like just a minute before the stream, so it's amazing that I even started on time. And remember guys, down in the description there, you have got all the ways to contact me. The Facebook and the Twitter, and that's pretty much it. Because I don't really do the Google Plus thing. Google Plus, I just haven't quite gotten the feel for it, I guess. I did a tweet earlier in the week talking about the fact that a company I got to know and talk with a bit out in CES called Tilt sent me a box with some stuff on it, with some stuff in it, some stuff on the box. Yeah, okay, that's perfect. And the interesting thing about Tilt is, one thing I didn't know is I knew that they were a newer company, but I didn't know that a lot of what they have right now is all based on Kickstarter. So I'm really impressed because in January when I met them, they were only 3 months old at the time, and they were acquired by a bigger company, but they've kept their own kind of a separate entity as Tilt Products. I don't remember the name of the company that bought them. In fact, they've been emailing me, so I should know that, but I don't. One of the things they sent me here, and I'm excited about this, but I'm a little disappointed. I don't want to get too much detail because at the end of the stream, I'm going to probably do the review on this product. one of the things they sent me is this right here, and I know you guys can't see what phone it's for, really. I guess you sort of can tell. It's an energy battery case. This one here is specifically for the Galaxy S3. They're going to be sending me one later for the iPhone 5. But they have some delays with the iPhone 5 Lightning connector, simply because of the fact that I guess Apple was being pricks and really delayed, how far or when they were able to start making it because of the whole patent deal or whatever. But I'm going to be doing a review on this battery case. Right now, they only have it for the Galaxy S3 and the iPhone 5. But like I said, a lot of this company was based on Kickstarter money. Once they start getting regular revenue flow coming in, they'll be doing more products. They sent me a couple of other products that are sitting right over there. You can't really see because I purposely hid them because I want there to be some surprises for the channel. A comment just caught my eyes about the Lavo Price Tech. Maybe I'll talk about them. Maybe I won't. I don't know. But anyway, so there's some reviews coming, and we're really, really close to another review that I cannot wait to do for you guys. And I'm getting really close to 10,000 subscribers, and I wanted to do something special for 10,000. Unfortunately, it looks like it's going to happen sooner than I'm going to really be able to... do something for it, because it was immediately projected. Why are people saying that the stream is broken? The stream isn't broken. Anyway, I was projected to hit 10,000 subscribers back towards July, August-ish. And now it's as soon as like April 26th, based on projections and how fast I've been growing. So I may not be prepared to do anything super exciting for the day I hit 10,000, but sometime thereabouts we'll be doing something special for you guys. Because after all, if it wasn't for you guys coming over here and watching me all the time, then this channel would be pretty boring and desolate, more so than it already is. But anyway. I'm gonna go ahead and go right here to the YouTube comments first, because I tend to kind of neglect the YouTube comments a little bit. Make sure any questions that you guys have, put it up on the Facebook or the Twitter. Twitter's easier than Facebook because Facebook is like weird. The way that the fan pages thing works, it likes to hide your comments and I don't see them. So don't blame me too much if I don't immediately respond to you guys. Okay, so here we go. We're going to start with some of the YouTube comments here. Super Blank Tube says he became completely jaded even though he just built a computer. Hey, Super Blank Tube, it's not really a surprise stream. I put it up on the channel earlier today, and I tweeted out what time I was going to be doing it. And so if you guys check on my page, you'll see when it tells you that I'm planning a live stream. So it won't be entirely too surprise for you guys. Okay. Jay, you should get another guest for next live stream. I plan on doing guests. It was kind of a last minute thing for me to do the idea of having guests on here. And so some of the people I want to get on here are going to take more time to coordinate. But I do plan on doing that. And what would be really awesome is if I was able to somehow coordinate a weekly podcast of a collective of people, kind of like PTFO or PKA, obviously not to that size, but to get a group of regular people in here, and then one guest each week to talk about technology and gaming and just to shoot the shit and have a good time. It doesn't necessarily have to be purely technology, because even though I'm a tech guru myself, I get really bored with technology sometimes, and I just like to veg out on something stupid. Like, I spent a lot of time today, like on my lunch break and stuff at YouTube, watching retarded things. Like, I watched like an hour of Mike Tyson's Greatest Knockouts. That isn't just random. I don't know what is. Holy crap. Okay, let's look through some of their comments. Super Blank Tube, the Battlefield 4 gameplay was intense. Too bad the story is only going to be 4 hours long. Yeah, I watched the 17 minutes of it. And granted, they look like they've made some improvements to the graphics and some of the controls, and they changed the HUD a little bit. It still just screams Battlefield 3 to me. Battlefield 3 was definitely a visual improvement over Battlefield 2 Bad Company, or Bad Company 2, but I don't know, I'm not super excited about it. I think I still just have a bad taste in my mouth over the fact that they announced Battlefield 4 beta so much sooner than I think they should have, especially since when they announced it prior to the Medal of Honor Warfighter, it just really made us feel like we were forgotten about already, and 3 expansions hadn't even come out yet. And if you guys are noticing any syncing issues between the audio and the voice, I don't know what's going on. I've been trying to troubleshoot that. I did a Google Plus with Boogie last week, and it was perfect. I streamed to Twitch, no problems whatsoever. But whenever I go on YouTube, it just has something. Something is wrong. I don't know what it is. It's like the audio is off slightly, and I'm not listening to it. I just know the last couple of weeks it's been that way. So hopefully it's not. Too bad. Sithoxpar. Quick question. You're running an MSI GTX 650 Ti and you're maxing out and everything. You also have an i5 3575K. I think you mean 3570K. It's an entry-level graphics card, and none of my friends believe me that you're maxing out. 650 Ti, yeah, you can max out games on that. It depends on the resolution. 1080p isn't an incredible resolution anymore. 1600p and 4000p. Hearing things. 4000p monitors are going to be definitely around the corner. Joseph's Legacy says, how'd you get 10 grand so fast? You talking about 10,000 subscribers? I'm not there yet, my friend. I'm at like 7250 or something like that. I'm not sure. Jasmine Mazik says, queer. If you're talking about me, my wife would disagree, and so would my daughter. But hey, thanks for your comment. Doing guests you're in. Yeah, I definitely want to coordinate the guests, and I want to have there be a good synergy and collaboration. So I'm not going to just invite anybody. So I don't want to sound like a prick, but I'm not going to just invite anybody to the stream. You guys are talking about PCs. Jay, where did you get your microphone boom desk stand, and how much was it? This here, and I wanted to do I just hit my monitor. I wanted to do a review on this mic stand. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. This is the Heil PL2T, as you can see right there. It is a desk mount. It's a clamp. You can also buy a flange for it that you can bolt to the desk, a wall mount, and a riser so you can make it higher if you want. It was kind of pricey, though. It was $120, and you can get them cheaper. Not necessarily this model cheaper, but you can get good desk booms for cheaper on eBay and other places. I got this one at Guitar Center. They had to order it for me. The reason why I went with such an expensive one is I'm using a Yeti with the pop filter and such on it, and I will eventually be getting the shock mount for it, which this is a very heavy microphone. A lot of the booms are only good to like 2.5 pounds, and that's how much the mic weighs without anything else. This one's rated up to, I believe, over 4.5 pounds, so that's why I went with something so expensive like this. Yeah, and so someone just said watch a video, talks about where I got it. I've got almost 100 videos. It's hard for people to start finding stuff, and so I'm not really getting upset or biting anyone's head off if they ask me a question they've already answered a million times, because when there's 100 videos up there and there's like 10,000 comments or something like that, it's hard for people to find any of that information. So Anthony Patrafik. Hey Jay, what specs should you get for $1,000? You're playing WoW and you want ultra high settings, 30 plus frames per second and 25 man cutler raids. Hey, you can do that with almost anything. Honestly, World of Warcraft, even though they've done lots of graphics improvements, a lot of Shadow and DirectX 11 upgrades and stuff for it, Warcraft is still more CPU intensive than it is graphics intensive. Let me tell you this though. Even with my GTX 680 overclocked and stuff, when I was playing Warcraft and I was going into cities like, Orgrimmar or Stormwind or whatever, when you have, depending if you're on a high pop server, if you've got 500 people in the city and they're all casting spells and just doing stupid stuff, you're going to get lag no matter what. No matter what you do, it's going to lag. So, but if you're talking about raids and things and all that casting going on, you could, for $1,000, yeah, it's easy. I mean, you could go with AMD or Intel, get any 600 series GPU or any 7000 series GPU, and you'll be just fine. The game is not incredibly intensive. What brand do you recommend for GTX 680? Stick with any other brands that carry at least a 3-year warranty. Some have lifetime warranty. No, lifetime warranty is gone now. It used to be EVGA. MSI, Gigabyte, Asus, EVGA. Those are kind of like your main go-tos. You've also got PNY. Galaxy's really made a name for itself over the last few years. So you should be fine. The GTX series, like NVIDIA, doesn't really seem to have too many major off brands, kind of like you find with the AMD cards, where you've got Sapphire and Diamond and XFX and those brands, but then you get some of the really weird ones like Power Color or something like that, and it's like you've never really heard of them. I always stick to the major brands, even if you have to pay $20-$30 more for the card. Spoonerism Jr. says, do you think that the 8350 is a future-proof CPU with the newer games using more cores? If you want to be serious about computers, you need to rid yourself of the term future-proofing. There's no such thing as future-proofing. Everything you have will become obsolete at some point. So what you're really implying to is longevity. And even though the AMDs have twice the physical cores of the i7s and the i5s, when it comes to the FX 8000 series, the problem is, unlike the i7s, which use a very advanced algorithm of like hyperthreading, and it does a very good job of tricking things into believing there's extra cores. AMD has the physical cores, however, they share the cache, whereas Intel still has full availability of the cache to each individual core. So you've got AMD with the same amount of, I shouldn't say the same amount, the same architecture of cache for 8 cores as it does for 4 cores, and it's sharing. So that's kind of why the core-for-core performance on Intel is better than AMD. I think you'll get your money's worth out of AMD compared to Intel for sure, because of the fact that AMD is so cheap. I mean, I got my 8350 for $200. It's overclocked to 4.9 right now. It's like, I still don't think that you can beat AMD for bang for buck. So people who are on extremely tight builds, I always recommend AMD. Steak Cake says, where do you think PC gaming is going to go in the next 5 years? It's funny. I was trying to get Boogie into the stream tonight. Unfortunately, he couldn't tonight, and we'll get him in here in the future. I want to have him and I discuss with you guys the future of gaming, and not just PC, but console as well. I feel that the future of gaming is not being destroyed by the game developers themselves. I think it's starting to be destroyed by companies like EA, what are some of the other publishers? And I want to make it clear here that I'm calling out the publishers, especially EA, because what they are doing is just like a publishing company for a book. Somebody else writes the book, somebody else comes up with the idea, but they don't have the means of pushing it out to the public and getting it mass produced and hosted and whatnot. So that's where companies like EA come in. So they agree to take a cut of the price of the profit, and they market it and brand it under their name. It's no different than how movies work too. That's why you'll see a Universal Pictures, a blah 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 production, a so and so film. You've got the producer, and then you've got the producer writes. Take that back. You've got the writer, right? Then he gets a producer. The producer is the one that takes on the main executive role of getting the movie created, who hires the director and hires the production company, and then the production company gives the product back to the producer, who then gets backing through publishers like Universal Pictures, Sony, whatever. So the same thing is true with games. If you get companies like EA that were doing what they were doing with always-on DRM, and only being able to download or play games when logged into their system, then that is going to destroy games. Because I used to travel back and forth to the East Coast a lot for work, and I don't do it so much anymore, but I know people who still travel a lot. I used to bring my laptop on the plane, and I would play games offline. But the thing is, publishers don't want you to be able to do that anymore, because publishers really want to squash the used game market. They want to stop me from being able to say, I'm done with this game, give the disc to the friend, and then them play it. They don't want you to do that. So that's the idea behind always-on DRM. That is stupid. And it's the same thing that movie companies are trying to start doing with DVDs and stuff, where they want to have DRM content on the disc and have it branded to your player. Or an account or whatever, just like Sony was talking about doing with the PlayStation and used games and DRM on the games. these companies are realizing that there's this huge third-party market, and they want a cut of that money. The thing that I don't agree with on that, including with PC gaming, is that if I'm done with a game and I want to give it to a friend, so what? Why should the company care? Because they still got their money on that disc. So what they've done in the past is, if you notice how if you buy a game now, almost every single game has some sort of a download code. Sorry. Where if you got the new Black Ops 2, if you wanted to get Nuketown, you had to install the code. Forza 4, if you wanted to get the test track and a whole track pack and a whole extra pack of cars, you had to have the download code. Battlefield 4 or Battlefield 3, if you wanted the 1911 45 millimeter handgun, it was a download code. All that stuff. So what they're doing now is they're saying, okay, fine, if you're going to somehow get the game used, you're going to miss out on some of this content. So, and I'm okay with that. That's fine. But don't completely block me from deciding I want to give a game to my brother-in-law or my friend or whatever. That's killing gaming, in my opinion. And it's kind of been, I think, honestly, what's kept me from buying games, because I'm just so turned off by the publishing companies. I don't want to support anybody. But whatever. Okay, I'll get back to your comments. I'm going to pop on over here on Twitter real quick, because I've got some Twitter questions that I've sort of been ignoring a little bit here. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Joseph's, let's see, he was talking about me doing a podcast. He says he would be on edge about me doing a podcast. You know what? So many other people do them, but how many people are doing technology podcasts? Not really. So I would still give it a shot. If you don't try it, how do you know if it would or wouldn't work? Mud Dads says, you are my only hope, Jay. How much difference between 560 Ti and 660 Ti? You have the 660, but it may have to go back. Do you have a 660 or a 660 Ti? Believe it or not, the 660 Ti is very close in specs and performance to the 580, the GTX 580, which was the previous flagship model, not counting the 590. The 660 Ti is an amazing card. So if you have the 660 Ti, I would hang on to it if you could. But the 560 Ti is definitely nowhere near the 660. Quan Main says, hey Jay, did you think about joining the early adopters of Google Glass and paying the $1,500 for the beta versions? Nope. Not interested in Google Glass, to be honest. I've never been that much into augmented reality. I understand it's a cool concept, and I think it's definitely the future. And I think it has a future in gaming as well. I'm just not... I don't know. I'm not... It hasn't seemed interesting to me, so I haven't really considered doing that. Let's check over here on the book face and see. I don't really see anything on Facebook. If you guys are saying something on Facebook, I'm not seeing it. So, yeah, I'm not seeing anything on Facebook. So I don't know if you guys are or not. We're going to go back over here. Check out the YouTubes. Where did I leave off? Poopsicle. Oh, Poopsicle. That's a cool name. Poopsicle. You still love that you got the 2500K for under $100 at Micro Center. Yeah, the 2500K, guys, if you can get your hands on one, forget the 3570K, because Ivy Bridge was only about a 10% improvement over the Sandy Bridge, but it runs hotter in many cases. So I still tell people, if you can get a 2500K, then do it. But this year, they're being phased out. In fact, they've already stopped making, I believe it was the retail version. You can only get the OEM now, where it's not going to come with a cooler. I'm sure there's still a lot of places with stock, but it's going to take time for that to run out. EA is the Apple of game developers. Well said. Akaris Thaherd. I'm like brutalizing your guys' name. Okay. How well do you think you will run games at BF3 or Bioshock Infinite with an NVIDIA GT 640 3GB? The GT 640 is not a gaming card. They may say games and game performance and blah, blah, blah all over the box. The GT series is a 2D performance card. It's for 1080p playback videos, 2D gaming. It's not very powerful at all for 3D gaming. Battlefield 3 and Bioshock Infinite would probably give it a hell of a hard time. And you would be playing at the lowest settings. Let's see here. Chi Master 345. Do you really know Chi? Do you practice Chi? Chimaster345 wants to know my opinion on the 2600K i7. 10% less performance than like the 3750K, I believe it is, the one step down from the 3770K. Great. It's a great processor. I would still even consider moving to a Sandy Bridge myself, but it doesn't make sense right now based on the performance to cost it would take for me to do that. So if you can get a 2500K, 2600, 2700K, do it. Seriously, do it. AMD is making Steamroller now. Yeah, AMD has a roadmap. Third quarter this year is when they're expecting to possibly be bringing out Steamroller. We're not entirely sure yet if it's going to be on the AM3 Plus socket. Rumors said that the pile driver was going to be the last AM3 Plus socket. I don't know. It depends on where AMD goes in the future, on whether or not I am going to be going with an Intel or sticking AMD. Because if I have to buy a new motherboard, I'm just going to go Intel. I'll seriously just... There won't be any point to stay on AMD anymore at that point for me. Tactical Banana wants to know, can you explain what's better about the next-gen Intel processors and if it's worth waiting to upgrade just for those new processors? I'll be honest with you, I have not done a whole lot of research about Haswell. It sounds like it's going to be really good. One of the things that the next generation processors is toting from Intel, though, is that it's going to be back on the 2011 socket. So that makes a lot of you X79 board owners happy because of the fact that you have an upgrade path to go down X79. We're probably going to be seeing a lot more mainstream and affordable 6-core processors from Intel, and you may even start seeing some 8-core from them based on what was being talked about at CES and stuff. So if Haswell turns out to be that good and the pricing is competitive, then I think Haswell would be worth waiting for. If you're looking at building now but don't need a computer right now, then you might want to just at least wait and see what happens, because at the very least, once it's announced, Sandy Bridge and Ivy Bridge stuff is just going to get even cheaper. Let's see here. How much FPS can you get from a 7870? Gamers, that depends entirely on what you're playing with, what resolution you're playing at, what settings you're playing at, what games you're going to play, what processor. There's a lot of things involved. That's really open-ended question there. Let's see. Am I looking forward to the next-gen consoles? Probably not, mostly because I don't do a lot of console gaming. I just get on there and screw around with some friends. In fact, I haven't even bought a new game for my Xbox in like 4 months, 5 months. So I'm not like super excited about it, I guess. When did I buy my Xbox? I bought it in November. And I hadn't owned one for a few years prior to that, so. Let's see. Somebody commented here about the GT640 being in the Razer's Edge. Yeah, I don't... that Edge tablet, I got to see it and play with it in person. It's not the smoothest experience. I mean, yeah, it's smooth and it's very strong for a tablet. It has an i5 or an i7 in it. It's not playing in a native 1080p, so that's why they can get away with a smaller graphics card like that. Besides, they have to go with something that doesn't generate a ton of heat in a tablet like that, because it does have fans on it and it does have vents. It's not very... I mean, the airflow is minimal. It's less airflow than a laptop, so they have to be careful about that. Let's see here. Vendetta 1337X says, do you know what's up with some of the newer DDR3 RAM having cast latency of like 910, 927? I always thought the lower was better. People have been asking me, and you might even been one of the ones that were asking me, to do a video about memory timing. Tighter timings do not always mean better performance. In fact, if you have your timing set too narrow and your processor, if it's not in tune with your processor, then you can actually see a degrade in performance. And I know what you're referring to. You're referring to seeing timings like there used to be like 99911 or 99915 and this 910, 927. That's common. My timing right now, in fact, let me look it up. Let's see what my timings are at with my overclock. They are very wide, because when you overclock, the timings, believe it or not, get wider rather than narrow when you're dealing with the XMP profile and whatnot. So let's see. My timings right now are at 10, 12, 11, 30. Yeah. So there you go. But my computer right now performs flawlessly. So, and that's at 1933 megahertz right now. I believe that the pile driver, some people have gotten it to run all the way up to 2100. But again, there becomes a point where there's diminishing returns. So I just tend to just leave it where it's at. Okay, checking Twitter here. Ben Linden wants to know what kind of performance you can get from an i5 3570K and a GTX 600 Ti. 600 what? Oh, okay, you fixed it here. 660 Ti. Like I said, the 660 Ti is very comparable to the GTX 580 series. Great card. You'll be able to max out nearly every game at 1080p. Dark Figure wants to know what's the difference between DDR3 and 5. Why have you never heard of DDR4 RAM? I'm not an expert on memory. I do know that DDR, for whatever reason, is always an odd number. You're never going to hear of an even number DDR. I know that, but I don't even want to like comment on the fact that and graphics card also doesn't use DDR. It uses VDDR, which is different. So you need to keep that in mind. Boogie came in here and said, hey, that he just got his new video card shipped off. Thanks for helping you with the MSI to cross ship. Hey, let me know how that new card works, and let me know if that sound on your power supply unit stops. I have a feeling that it's not going to, but yeah. So anyway, let's see. Gamers 818 8120 at 1080p. Yeah, you'll be fine. The performance on that will be a very good graphics card. Wish I could. I'm sorry, Dark Figure. I wish I could answer that question better, but I'm not an expert on RAM. On the differences between DDR3 and DDR5. Somebody in here may be able to answer that, but I personally cannot. Ben Linden UK wants to know what my opinions of the 650 Ti boost and that NVIDIA announced. Let me look at that here. That NVIDIA announced. I watched Linus's video on it. I watched the announcement. I'm not ready to really form an opinion on it yet. I just simply watched the videos. I haven't done any research. I have some forums and I have some resources that I go to get some of that information. So I don't like to talk about things like that and give out any sort of wrong information. So I'm simply not going to comment about the card because I don't know a whole lot about it yet. Brendan Holder says GDD5 is going to be in the new consoles and video card memory. Yeah. Welcome to 2013 there, video game consoles. How about the fact that PCs have been running GDDR5 since like 2008? Whatever. Cool Luke, slightly better specs. Spec S3 with better screen. Somebody must have asked about the S4. Oh, yes. Super Blank Tube says, damn, they should have put 8 cores in there and tried to improve the battery. Other than that, what's the use of getting the S4? Well, I can tell you what Samsung plans on doing. Because of my little trip to CES in January, they do have an 8-core processor, believe it or not. It's called the, wait for it, Aquarius Octa. Yeah, even my wife, who's not like all that techie, even looked at me during that keynote and was like, really? Octa? Yeah, because what was the Aquarius? The Aquarius, it was the Quad, the 4-core. So they came out with the Aqua or the Octa. Yeah. So what it is it's got 4 larger cores and 4 smaller cores, and the 4 larger cores are full speed. They've got they're like APUs. They've got all the graphics processors built into them, and then the 4 smaller cores are good for 2D and video watching and whatnot. And what's going to happen is you're going to have these 4 cores right on the new Samsung processor. This is for phones, by the way. If you're just tuning in, I'm talking about Samsung's new technology for their mobile phones that have not been released yet. What's going to happen? Look at that. It's focusing on my fingers. Crazy. Okay, so you're going to have 8 cores. If you're just streaming around on the net, these are all going to turn off, and you're going to have this 1 core doing its thing. So you get amazing battery life. Now, if you're watching a video or something that it doesn't have crazy playback. It's you're not watching a high def video. You're just watching some sort of a stream. You get this one core doing its thing. But if you start playing games, you're going to get the 4 big cores that are going to turn on, and the small core is going to turn off. Now, if you've got other things going on in the background, like Google Maps, or you've got music playing or whatever, you're going to have your gaming happening over here, and you're going to have the smaller cores turn on and off based on what's needed on the background. So what they're doing by doing that is, instead of utilizing the potential of the larger cores to do smaller mundane tasks like reading email or whatnot, it's going to be smart fluctuating cores that turn on and off as they're needed. So they're expecting an amazing quality and battery improvement on the newer stuff coming out for Samsung later this year. And they had teamed up with ARM to come up with the algorithms and the architecture of the smart cores in that thing. And I said it before, that may be what it finally takes to get me to move back to Android, because I was playing with my Galaxy a bit this morning, and it was doing some things that were really pissing me off, like Netflix kept freezing and whatnot. But I'm really considering, and I know I said it in my last live stream, but I'm really considering doing that 30-day challenge of putting away my iPhone, forwarding all my calls and texts and things to my Samsung, and just using the Galaxy. So I guess we'll see what happens. Gamers818, the American version of the S3 is a dual core. The European version is a quad core. In fact, I think every other country has a quad core. So that's why when I had my S3 versus iPhone 5 video, people were getting pissed because of the fact that they said that it was biased, that I was using the dual core one and not the quad core, blah blah blah. But first of all, the iPhone 5 is a dual core, and why I'm going to test it in the country I live in. And if that's the fact that the only thing we have available to us is a dual core, well then, eat me, because that's what it is. David Swinney says he's debating on whether or not to build a PC or wait for a PS4 to come out. You've heard that PC hardware might be less expensive after it's released. I can tell you right now that gaming console platforms have never influenced the prices of PC parts. So let me just put that out there right now. I've been doing console gaming and computer gaming since the first NES came out. And not one time has any console ever changed the pricing of PC parts. I just wanted to repeat that and make it very, very clear. What I can tell you is right now, you are on the verge of an entirely new generation of PC parts to come out within the next 4 months, I'll say. We've got Haswell for AMD. You've got Steamroller. Okay. Haswell for Intel. Steamroller for AMD. The 700 series from NVIDIA is going to be coming out in Q3, right around this year. And then you've got the AMD 8000 series, which is probably right around the corner now. In fact, some of that stuff has already been leaked. So there's a potential for anything that you buy or build right now is going to end up being obsoleted somewhat quickly. So, just saying. Okay. Get your questions in here, guys. We got 20 more minutes here. It's checking Twitter. Raquel says, your Sony Vaio is not capable of playing Resident Evil 6, and the hubby was suggesting he would probably get you an Acer. What would you suggest? As long as it has some sort of a discrete graphics card in there, you should be fine. As long as it's a 600 series, I would say if it's got the 640 GT, the discrete, you should be fine with the laptop. 660 I think would be the minimum I would recommend, but then you're starting to get up there in $1,000 plus price tag for a laptop, so I don't know what your budget is. I would also consider possibly an MSI laptop or even a Sager. Sager, the company I did the review for in the very beginning of this whole YouTube channel. Great company, great product, and it's usually cheaper, and amazing technical support if you need it. Luke123 says you thought the 8000 period series got pushed back. It did a little bit, and I want to tell you guys a story, and I'm going to give you a little bit of background about the What happened that led up to my Titan Rage video? And this is absolutely brilliant on AMD's part. Here's what happened. In 2012, in January of 2012, AMD launched the first 28 nanometer GPU for graphics cards. And if you're not aware what 28 nanometer means, it's just the size of the die that's used inside the processor, or the graphics processing unit in this case. And the smaller it is, the more efficient it is, the more powerful it is, because there's less. There's less. Let's just put this in layman's term here. It's a shorter road to travel to get the information from one point to another. Okay. So AMD beat NVIDIA to the punch on the 28 nanometer process, and everybody knew that NVIDIA was already working on the Kepler, what was codenamed Kepler, for their 28 nanometer process. So AMD launched theirs in January with the 7970 first. Now, Intel, NVIDIA did not come out with the 600 series or the GTX 680 until March 22nd of 2012. So there was nearly 4 months of AMD being top dog. Their cards were smashing the GTX 580. In fact, the GTX 590 was only barely beating the single GPU card of AMD's, which was the 7970. Now, NVIDIA came out with the GTX 680. They beat the 7970, and then AMD later on last year came out with the Gigahertz edition, which started beating the 680, and then there was a driver war, and they're constantly going back and forth on who's top dog, right? And then you've got the custom cards, like Asus came out with the Ares, which is this like a 7990 sort of thing with 2 graphics cards, with 2 GPUs on one card. You got the GTX 690, and then NVIDIA was afraid that, because you wouldn't believe what happened to NVIDIA's stock in the 3 months that AMD was on top. It was falling big time because their investors were pissed that NVIDIA did not beat AMD to the punch on the 28 nanometer process. So people really started getting pissed off. Investors started getting pissed. So NVIDIA was afraid that that was going to happen again. So what did AMD do? Late last year, December-ish, they leaked photos themselves. They leaked photos of the so-called 8000 series. And they showed the backside of the PCB. And one of them had 2 GPUs on the back. And so people started saying, oh, wow, AMD is going to be launching with the 8000 series a dual GPU card. Because remember, AMD's always been last on the official dual GPU cards. They've never been, in fact, a lot of the AMD dual GPU cards were custom aftermarket by Asus. And so this time they showed what was, they labeled as a leak of the 8790 and the 8990. And so what happens here? NVIDIA freaks out, and we believe, at least in the guru tech world, especially on some of the forums I go to that are specifically graphics card driven, believed that NVIDIA was in the middle of working on the GTX the 780. Now, that's what people believe is the Titan. So when AMD leaked those photos, it's believed that the NVIDIA pushed the project, pushed it in, or pulled it in to get it released as soon as possible. So they announced the fact that they're holding a press conference to release a card. Well, what does AMD do? They put out their own press release saying that they're pushing back the 8000 series to late 2013. Well, at that point, NVIDIA's already talked about the fact that they're having a press release for a new card, and they've already given hints to the fact that it's going to be GK110, which is the processor label of the processor, the type of processor it is. So at that point, NVIDIA kind of goes, oh shit, what are we going to do now? Because now AMD effectively trolled them to get them to put out their, AMD's trolled NVIDIA to show their cards ahead of time. So the Titan comes out, AMD says, oh, okay, so that's what GK110 is capable of. Well, we're going to go ahead and push back our stuff. Now AMD knows exactly what they're up against because NVIDIA showed their top dog, and everyone, the rest is history. And NVIDIA said they were only going to make 1,000 of them because of the fact that AMD trolled them, and which raised the price to $1,000. Now, why am I boycotting the Titan? Here's why. Because a lot of people have asked me this, and I meant to put out a follow-up video, I just haven't done it. The reason why I'm boycotting the Titan, when I bought my GTX 680, we had been promised by NVIDIA that GK104 was going to be the GTX 660 and lower, and that the GK110 was going to be the 680, and that GK114 was going to be the 700 series. Because when companies announce what they're going to do, they put out a roadmap. They want people to know what's coming down the line. So we buy our GTX 680s, and when they were given review samples away, what's the first thing guys like Linus Tech Tips or Guru 3D or any of those guys do? They take it apart. So when they take it apart and they go and they look at the graphics card, what's the first thing they see on top of the branded on top of the GPU? GTX or GK104. And everyone's going, whoa, wait a minute here. The GTX 680 was supposed to be a 110. So people start digging deeper, and they unlock the BIOS, and they start not engineering, but they start detecting the BIOS and going through the code. And what do they find embedded in the BIOS code? GTX 660 Ti that was shipped out with the review units of the GTX 680. So what do you have now? You have a card labeled GTX 680. But when you look at the guts and you look at the software that goes along with it, you see 660 Ti and GK104. So what does this mean? Because NVIDIA had a 3-month window to take a look at what AMD was doing, they said, hey, check this out. Our GTX 660 Ti is beating the 7970, which is AMD's flagship. So let's be smart about this. Let's rebrand the GTX 660 the GTX 680. And let's just go ahead and put GK110 on the shelf and wait. Because why? Why spend the money? Why lose money on the GK110 when the GK104 is already beating AMD's best card? So they lied to us, shipped us the 660 Ti's branded as a GTX 680. So when they unveil the GK110 as the Titan for $1,000, guys like me are pissed because that's what we were supposed to get. Anyway, that was the story about GTX 680, GTX Titan, AMD 7970, and what's happening this year. That is the root cause of my rage for the GTX Titan video. And right there, Snoot XXX says he thought his 680 was a GK110 when he bought it. Yeah, well, guess what? We all did. But we got hustled by NVIDIA. So AMD flipped the table, got them to show what they were working on sooner, and now AMD is planning on coming out with their cards after NVIDIA, since now they already know what NVIDIA has. I think it's a really cool story, especially from an underdog like AMD, where people weren't, people don't know that story. So the fact that AMD now is an underdog and is able to troll, and I'm calling it troll because that's exactly what they did. They completely trolled NVIDIA. All right, so that was a long story. Now I'm going to go back to some of your comments here. Would I rather get another 680 for my system when the 680 doesn't meet your preferences, or would I sell my 680 and get a newer card? It really depends on what the newer card is doing. When I did that $4,000 build, I put two 680s in because two 680s is beating the performance of a single Titan. So, but I personally have never run an SLI setup. I usually only game on one monitor at 1080p, so I haven't needed it. It really depends on how much I could get a 680 for. The same could be said for when I had my 580. I could have just bought another 580 and put it in there. I didn't because the 580 was such a power hog. Plus, I had sold my MacBook Pro and just decided to take some of the money and buy the graphics card. And then I sold my 580, which made my 680 cost me like, geez, only $100 in the end. So, Gary Greiser says AMD is the shit. NVIDIA graphics cards break too much. Fuck them. Hey, I've got an 8800 Ultra sitting on the wall right there. Wish my daughter would stop screaming. I've got an 8800 Ultra sitting on the wall right there. I've owned a GTX 580. I've got my 680. I've never had a single problem with them. So that comment doesn't really apply to me, but I do know a lot of people that have had problems with NVIDIA cards. Jake Gaming MC says, oh, Jays, I have an i7 3820 Sandy Bridge. It is at stock 3.6 gigahertz, and you're running now overclocked at 4.0. You never changed the voltage, just frequency, and you stress test for 30 minutes. Any ideas OC-wise? I'm not sure I follow. It sounds like you have a 400 megahertz OC going at stock voltage, 30 minutes stable. Sounds good to me. Let's see here. Andrew Newton. All these numbers. I just want a good graphics card. Oh, yeah, well then get something with a high number, and you'll good to go. State Cake says you need an ad block. That's up to you, man, but those ads help pay the bills. Okay, how do you know of a site or anything that can tell you your parts? Huzzy Game says, do you know of a site or anything that can tell you your parts are compatible with others? Linking of up video cards. Not sure if your motherboard can handle this stuff in the last 6 months. I don't myself. I don't know of a resource like that. I really don't. I just kind of like know everything. Like I know already compatibilities in my head. So, Kulo Luke says any PCI 3.0 card can fit into a 16x 2.0 slot. Work perfect with the same bandwidth, you believe? Yeah, you're not going to see PCI Express 16x 3.0 really like fully utilized until like another generation of stuff easily. Senton Nissan, that's pretty epic. Can you please say a few tips on prize dropping? I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure I follow. Let's see. Stay Easy Clan says JayzVFX can JayzTwoCents can FX 8350 or i5 2500. Please reply. 8350, man. The 2500's the 8350 gaming wise is exactly the same performance wise as the 3570, but it has the rendering capability of a 3770. It's better than the 2500K. Let's see here. Do you have any advice? King of Honey Badgers says, do you have any advice for those wishing to buy gaming laptops? Yeah, stay away from Alienware, that's for sure. I would stay away from iBuyPower, CyberPC. Stick with companies like MSI, Asus, Sager, and that's Sager, Sager. Stay with main companies like that, because a lot of companies like iBuyPower will brand gaming laptops, but I've only met one person who's ever had a good computer from iBuyPower. Usually everything they get is complete garbage. Andrew Newton says, a bit off topic, but have I played the new Slender? Is it out? I might try it if it's out. But that game, I had a bad experience. Just put it that way. That bad experience is on my channel. You can go find it. Jake Riot 1, do you know of a heatsink around $40 to $60 that do a decent job of cooling? Yeah, in fact, I know of a cooler that's less than $30 that does an awesome job of cooling. It's the Cooler Master Hyper 212. And then there's a couple of variants of the 212. Amazing cooler for the price. If you want something that's a little more stylish to look at, you can look at like the Corsair, the Cooler Master V6 if you're sticking with air cooling. Really good cooler. Or the Thermaltake Frio is an amazing cooler. I used to, when I did air overclocking, I used the Frio, and it was an amazing cooler. It's push-pull configuration, 120 millimeter fans. Awesome cooler. I think it's right around $50. Vendetta says, for air cooling, do you know what temps you should look for while under load? Non-overclocking as well. If you're not overclocking, your temperature should be fine regardless of what you're running, but it depends on what processor you're using. AMD processors should never see more than 62 degrees Celsius on the core. AMD Intel processors should never, I believe they can go as high as like 80 or 90. I'm not sure though on the Intel. You're going to have to look that one up. Platigon64 says, you called it. What did you call? Neither MiG Twig 789, 7050, or 7970. I'm not sure. What are you talking about? Oh, okay. Jake says use a Frio. Let's see. Dylan Cooper says Boogie sent you here. Well, I'm glad he did. He throw you? Did he wave a piece of meat? I don't know. Boogie's a good friend of mine. Some people, for whatever reason, don't seem to believe that he and I are friends outside of YouTube. But yeah, he's a really good guy. And I feel bad for him. He's had so much problems with this new computer he's built. And it's like, wow. You know, some people just have really bad luck of the draw. And for me, that's been me with my RC car. I had so many problems with it. They're all ironed out now, but some people just have really bad luck with buying new stuff. And it seems like his computer for him has just been like, holy cow. And do everything I can to help the guy. But he's got to send his video card back to MSI, and it's only a few months old. It's like, what the hell, man? I've been overclocking every video card I've ever owned since the day I've ever owned them, and I've never had a problem, period. Okay. Funky's Gamer Tag says, what would I guess the minimum requirements for BF4? Probably going to be a lot like Crysis 4 or Crysis 3. They recommend a GTX 680 if you want ultra performance. I'm going to say you're probably going to need at least a GTX 660 Ti to get reasonable frame rates at reasonable graphics. I don't like when people... I know this might ruffle some feathers, but I don't like when people say, well, I only want to play the game at medium or low settings. And it's like, God, man, part of the allure of PC gaming is the fact that it's so beautiful. And the graphics and everything are so much more intense than console. And I don't understand why some people want to game at console settings on PC. That's my personal take on that. So, if you don't agree with that, that's fine. I'm not going to judge at all. I just don't understand why people want to do that. And that really, really sucks. Brandon Holder says, crap, I have an NVIDIA 650. You'll be fine with the 650, but remember, guys, I'm a graphics whore. I'm a graphics snob. I've got to have max graphics on everything. Everything I play, I've got to be able to put the sliders all the way up. And if I can't, I'm not happy. And I know that that's not a luxury that a lot of people can do or afford. Because if you want to have the slider all the way up, you definitely have to pay for it. And, medium settings a lot of the times you can't really tell the difference. In fact, I remember when Battlefield 3 first came out, I remember switching between medium, high, and ultra, medium, high, ultra, going back and forth on the presets, and the differences were so minimal. What makes a bigger difference on graphics for computer gaming is the anti-aliasing, because that's what takes the jagged edges away from radiuses and curves and polygons. And so, because remember, you've got square pixels, and you got to make something round out of square pixels. There's going to be jagged edges. And anti-aliasing is a software function that takes that curve and makes it nice and smooth. The anti-aliasing is what puts a hurt on your graphics card. So usually you can run a game like Battlefield 3 at ultra settings with no MSAA and be just fine. It's the moment you turn on the anti-aliasing that things just kind of fall apart for the card, if it can't handle it. All right, checking out Twitter here. Looks like we just got some retweets and stuff like that. Metro Hornet wants to know, what is the best video card manufacturer? I can tell you right now that the companies that I think you can never go wrong with. I don't have a best company. Like, for instance, my last graphics card was an EVGA, and I'm currently running an MSI. I think if you stick with the major brands, Asus, and these are with the exception of EVGA, these are all companies that make AMD and NVIDIA. EVGA, MSI, Asus, Gigabyte, and Galaxy. If you can stick with any of those cards, I think you'll be fine every single time. There's also PNY. I don't really usually promote or recommend PMI for the simple fact that, or PMY for the simple fact that, for whatever reason, they seem to think their shit don't stink and they want to charge you more money for base model cards. So I never recommend PNY just for that fact. 163973 says, why is it so hard to find a high refresh rate in high res monitors? What do you mean? Are you talking about 120 hertz monitors and 1200p, 1440 and 1600? One, because they're still a luxury item. Two, they're so expensive. A lot of people don't stock a lot of them in stock. That $4,000 build I did, the owner bought a 30-inch Dell UltraSharp 1600p monitor. That thing was back ordered twice in the time that he ordered it, and they kept pushing back the shipping date. And that's from Dell themselves. It's just they're not as they're just not as prevalent as 1080p, because 1080p is still an amazing resolution. I don't know why people talk bad about 1080p, but whatever. I'm going to go ahead and extend the stream another 15 minutes or so, since the fact that there's now 84 of you in here, and a lot of you are coming in late. Some of you guys are probably following Boogie, listening to me talk about boring stuff like computers and games and technologers and stuff. And drinking my tea. Listening to Twitch. I got the twits coming. But the point of this stream, the reason why I call it Tech Talk, is because I want to answer your questions about... now I hear a crying kid. I want to answer your questions about technology. Let's see. One more question. Using your current laptop, your CPU has reached... I think I have a kid screaming at the door. You guys might be witnessing a murder. Okay, one more question. Using your current laptop, my CPU has reached 80 degrees Celsius playing Crysis 2. I haven't noticed any performance loss. Is that normal? It's an i7 2630QM mobile. It's possible, depending on the brand. A lot of laptop manufacturers have been known to really be stingy with the thermal paste. Gateway does that. Dell does that. And I hate to say it because there's no proof, but a lot of people believe that the reason why they do that is it causes premature death of the laptop, leading you to have to buy a new laptop. So what I've cured, I don't know how many laptops of overheating problems by simply taking off the heat sinks, putting on better thermal paste, and then getting the temperatures to really start. The temperatures would really come down because they just put on crap thermal paste, or they don't put it on properly, or it cracks and gets old. And Snood, yes, this is iced tea. Okay. Jake Gaming MC says, computer stuff isn't boring us. I already have a beast of a PC, and these streams are like crack to you. Yeah, they're like crack to me, too. Good do a stream here. All right, Gamers 818. So, 660 Ti or 680? Well, duh. If you can get the 680, get the 680. I mean, I think you just wanted to type a comment there. I'm just going to be honest with you. Brandon Holder, if you're taking off, I will see you later, bro. See ya. Thanks for coming here. Let's go back to some of the older comments I think I may have missed here. Okay, Sintan Nissan says, I'm from Spain. Sorry for my English. How long would it take for the GTX 660 to cost 150 euros instead of 2,000? I am not an economic strategist, my friend. I have no idea. Another year, at least. What are my download upload speeds? I've got 50 megabit down, 5 megabit up. Yeah, Time Warner really sucks with the upload. Steak Cake wants to know if there any news about Half-Life 3. You know, I was just talking about that the other day. I haven't seen any news on Half-Life 3. I love the Half-Life series, and that's one that I would definitely buy in a heartbeat. Talk about what I thought about the BF4 campaign. Oh no, Naoki-sama. Oh no, Naoki-sama. Is that Japanese? Anyway, what do I think about the Battlefield 4 campaign? It, to me, honestly felt like a continuation of Battlefield 3. It just simply did not feel like it was a new game. It really didn't. I mean, it sounded like they were trying to kind of bring it back to like the Battlefield 2 days with China and Russia and the PLM or the PLA or whatever it was called. And I mean, yeah, the graphics were a little nicer. The HUD was a little sleeker. The sounds were a little better. And the animations were a little bit more realistic. I wasn't excited about it. I want to see multiplayer first before I make a true opinion about it, because most people only play the campaign once. So to tease us with the campaign is kind of like, whatever. I thought it looks like a good game, but I still just am mad about it because of EA and the way that they dangled Battlefield 4 beta in our faces 6 months ago. So whatever. Dylan Cooper says, I don't look old enough to have kids and a wife. Dylan Cooper, how old do you think I am, my friend? I would like to know. And with a voice like this, and the fact that I'm not in radio is probably pretty amazing. But whatever. How old do you think I am? I'd like to know. Let's see here. What is going on out there? Sabby Sauce TV says, looking for Crossfire 2 7870 soon. What wattage power supply would I recommend? 750 watt would be pretty safe. And I think you'd have a lot of headroom. I could SLI two 680s in my system with a 750 watt and be just fine. I SLI two overclocked 680s with an overclocked i7 3770K and water cooled with a pump and multiple fans and such with an AX850 Corsair. So 750 watt, you'd be just fine. Okay. David the Droid says, you're looking at an FX8350. You have a Formula 4. I'm assuming that's a Crosshair Formula 4. And you know it's compatible, but do you think it'll run into any issues with it not being an AM3 Plus board? Yes, you won't get the full You won't get full capability of the GPU or the processor. You just simply won't. 990FX is definitely what you want. And I don't believe the Crosshair 4 formula is a 990FX. I believe it's an 890. Am I right? What do I think about the new Devil May Cry and Metal Gear? I don't know any. I haven't seen any of the details on both of those games. Metal Gear, though, I didn't know they were making a new one. If they are, that's something I definitely want to look into. And I'm still, let's see, Dylan Cooper says, you look very young, not sure how old, maybe mid to late 20s. You're guessing you're wrong there. Yeah, I'm turning 32, my friend. So yeah, I have been married 7 years, going to be 8 years here. And I have been with the same woman for 13 years, and my daughter is turning 4. So yeah. Let's see, Jake Gaming MC, hey Jay, are chipset coolers and RAM coolers really worth buying? Are you talking about for water cooling, or are you talking about air cooling? I think my daughter is being murdered. This is nice. JayzTwoCents is doing Tech Guru live stream as children are being skinned alive in the background. Come watch, everybody, come watch. Hey, I got a question. CS Swag, C Swag says, hey, I got a question. I was wondering what graphics card would do you good on a 720p display, maxed out. Just about any card could handle 720 just fine. Have I still got my 8350 rig? Absolutely. Haven't been playing games, so there's no reason to upgrade. And it still renders all my videos very fast. I don't think, even my longest, like 15, 20-minute videos, it usually renders in real time. So if it's a 20-minute video, it takes 20 minutes to render. If it's a half-hour video, even though I've never done one, it takes about a half hour. 5-minute videos render in like 3 minutes. So yeah, it's a very fast computer. That's not a laughable topic. Ha ha ha. Yeah, well, you know, hey, what happens in America? Let's see. Dave, the Formula 4 supports only the 8150 at most. Yeah, I didn't think the 8350 would work, but I'm not sure, so. Can you, Spoonerism Jr. says, can I please be your son? You wouldn't want me as a dad, my friend. I am strict. I am like, boy, do your homework. Although my daughter doesn't do homework yet, but I do that. Kid, pick up your toys. I'm going to throw that shit in the trash. Yeah, you don't want to be my kid. Trust me. You didn't mention Sapphire. What are my thoughts on their GPUs? Sapphire has definitely been one of the go-to brands for AMD. Sapphire, Diamond, XFX. They've all been pretty major AMD players. I had gotten a Sapphire 7970 for my brother's PC build. I don't know if there was something wrong with the graphics card or what, but that thing was garbage. It was like half the frames per second of my 680, and I had played with drivers. I did all the tricks I knew to try and figure out what the hell was going on, including overclocking, and the card was garbage. So we returned it and ended up putting an Asus 680 in his computer, and he's never been happier. Yeah, I will. And somebody asked me earlier, what's my favorite video card manufacturer? The company that I loved the most back in the day is no longer around anymore, but it was BFG. I loved BFG because it literally stood for Big Fucking Gun. That's what it stood for. And so I loved that company, but yeah, sadly they're out of business. Super Blank Tube just loves procrastinating on your work, watching your streams. Hey, get to work, man. What is this? Huh? Is it work? Is it schoolwork? Huh? Did you want to get a higher education? Come on. Be better than me. Do your work. Let's see. Denso Killa says, don't say that. You just ordered a Sapphire 7970 gigahertz. Listen, first of all, it wasn't a gigahertz version because there was no gigahertz cards yet at the time I built that. That was before I even started YouTube, like a month or two before I started the YouTube channel. So, gigahertz version is perfectly fine. I still think there was just something wrong with that card because I had done a lot of research and other people running the 7970 Sapphire had no problems whatsoever. So don't get upset about that at all because I honestly think it was just that card. Dylan Cooper, what would win a fight between a 20 horse-sized ducks or one duck-sized horse? Boogie 2988 would win. Just saying. Let's see. What was my favorite, Black Ops 1 or 2? I still have my Black Ops 1 poster up there on the wall. I sold my Black Ops 2 to my friend because I hated the game. Hated the game. I'm so done with Call of Duty. They call it Call of Duty for a reason. Coolio Luke says, well, 3970X and a dual 69 or a quad Titan for CUDA. Well, first of all, the 690s, two 690s is $2,000, and 4 Titans is $4,000. If you really want to do CUDA, you need to get yourself a Quadro card. You need to go with a true rendering card, a card designed for rendering, if that's what you want it for. The Titan, even though it may be like the flagship best gaming card, blah, 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 it is like entry-level, bottom-of-the-barrel CUDA card when it comes to truly rendering and using CUDA technology. Go and look up NVIDIA's Quadro series, and then you'll start to see what you really should be putting that $4,000 into if you really want a CUDA. Okay, let's see here. Jedi Mind Rix says, you've probably been asked this already, but how long until they release mainstream 1440p monitors at 120 hertz? I don't know if they will. I think they may honestly start skipping straight to 4,000. I really do. Based on what I saw at CES and all the 4,000 panels that were around, including small form factors like 20 inches, like 20-inch Panasonic 4K tablet. That thing was amazing. It was so freaking sharp. You put your face right on it and you can't see a pixel. So I think they may end up jumping to that. But what's the pricing going to be like? Shit, who knows? All right, guys, 3 more minutes in this stream, and then I'm going to be shutting it down. So get your questions in right now. Okay. Twitter is nice and clear. Not seeing anything new on Facebook. All right, so we'll keep it right here on YouTube. Recon BFH says, do I watch PewDiePie? No, I don't. I got nothing against PewDiePie. I really don't. I mean, shoot, the guy isn't like number 7 most subscribed to person on YouTube for without a reason. But his maturity level isn't where I like to watch, and he definitely caters towards that 13 to 17-year-old demographic. I feel dumber when I watch PewDiePie. I can't do it. Sorry. Let's see. Denso Killa says, your current graphics card is an MSI 6850, and it's been a great card, but need more horsepower for your new 8350 machine. The 6850 could probably still handle a lot of games just fine. I wouldn't say you need to upgrade for your processor. I would say that you need to upgrade for the games you're going to play, depending on what you play. Cool Luke says, Nerve, you disappeared all of a sudden. Nerve said for gaming and rendering videos, Jay. Oh, for gaming and rendering videos? Okay, yeah, I guess 4 Titans is ridiculous waste of money. Ridiculous. Platon Platygon64 says, answer you, please. Answer me. It'll make my day. Okay, what would be a good GPU to crossfire 2 7870s with? An AMD? You mean CPU? An AMD 9650 Black Edition? 2 7870s will bottleneck in a 965. Just saying. You would have to go with something like an 1100T or a 1090T, which is 6 cores, and that's still on the Phenom processor or the Phenom platform. So, and they're still fairly cheap if you can find them. So, I would stay away from the 965 with the 2 7870s. I'm pretty sure it'll bottleneck. 1 more minute, guys. Here, Windows 8, never. Windows 7, 64-bit here. Well, he said it the best, and I just ran with it. Okay, gonna play Arma 2. Have fun. Do I watch Ray William Johnson? No. My issue with Ray William Johnson is he's famous because of everyone else's videos. All he does is highlight all the other viral videos, and he makes money on it. That bothers me. Do I watch Smosh? But you guys are just asking me if I watch. Okay, I will tell you who I watch in the top 10 right now. And based on today's top 10, that would be Freddie Wong, and that's it. I don't watch Jenna Marbles. Oh my God, please don't get me started on that. I don't watch Smosh. I don't watch PewDiePie. I don't watch Ray William Johnson because I don't understand how they got to the top. Yes, I do, because they completely cater towards that 13-year-old mentality. And I am sorry, I'm too professional in what I do in life and what I do on my channel to watch that. I just want to fucking kill somebody after I watch those videos. Do I like Half-Life? Yes, I love Half-Life. That was one of the beta testers back in the late 90s. Why not Jenna Marbles? I just don't like her. I think she's one of those people that... I'm not chauvinist, but I think she's one of those people that just got to where she is because she's a pretty face. And I've watched some of her stuff, and it's like... It just felt... like there was no substance to it. So, I don't know. Have I played Slender? Yes, I have. In fact, I have a video of me playing Slender and getting the crap scared out of me by my wife. Ugh. Favorite game when I was a teen? Probably Quake. I loved Quake. All right, last question here by Pro Excalibur 1. Upgrading PC needed by $700 budget. Planning to get Z77 i7 3770K. Is it worth it? A Z77 motherboard and a 3770K is not going to leave you enough money to buy the rest of your computer. Just saying. You might want to consider dumbing it down to like a 3570K or even an AMD build. $700 is not a lot of money. All right, guys, I'm going to get on out of here. I appreciate you guys coming and watching my stream. I'm trying to get back on track with putting up regular videos on a regular basis. Don't shoot me. I just live a very busy life, and I'm trying to put together some good content for you guys. So once again, I appreciate you guys coming and watching. Continue to ask your questions in the stream. I usually come back for the next day or two and answer questions that are in here after I've turned off the live stream. 82 of you in here. I greatly appreciate it, guys. Once again, thanks for coming. Subscribe, like, favorite. Follow me on Twitter because Twitter's still the best way to get a hold of me. And go and like the Facebook page. Links are down on the bottom. I'll see you later. Thanks.